this little gasket right here. And this one, I think I've seen leak on every single diesel I've ever come across. Not leaking badly, but seeping. And this has been a problem, I think, for these engines from day one, because they take an aluminum housing for the oil filler and they bolt it up to a cast iron block. And because of the dissimilar metals and the dissimilar rate of expansion and contraction, this gasket can leak. It's very high pressure oil going through there, and they've actually had to design a real custom gasket. But the problem is Mercedes isn't making this anymore. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this in the video, and you certainly do not, and I'm going to repeat, do not replace the thin paper gasket that you see so many people selling today. You're going to be replacing it in the not so distant future. So this style of gasket was only used on the 1977 to 1985 model 4 and 5 cylinder diesel engines in the US market, okay? I need to clarify that. This is the oil filler housing that sits up high and you put the filter at the top towards the back of the engine. But this one was removed from a 77 240D, and I'm going to show you the evidence of leakage. You can get underneath and you can see the wetness on the bottom, and then of course you can see where the oil and grime has built up. In severe cases it will actually drip on the driveway or drip on the floor of your garage. But I'm going to show you now why this is leaking and why this is such a challenge to prevent the leak in the future. This is a paper gasket, and I'm going to poke away at it with these pliers. It's literally rock hard. It's so hard it's not even doing any sealing, and if you look along this bottom edge you can see how wet the gasket is. Look at how hard this is. If I go to break it, see, it just tears like that. It won't even flex. And that's because not only is there a lot of oil pressure moving through this passageway here, but there's a lot of heat generated from the oil as it goes forward into the engine oil cooler. So you have a lot of heat on the contact points, and this has become a real challenge to keep this sealed. So Mercedes came out with a special gasket, and it's a waffle gasket. I'm going to show you the waffle gasket here, and if you look closely you can see it has kind of a waffle surface on it. There's also a thin piece of metal in the middle. So this gasket has proven to work very well over time. It's not 100% foolproof when you're talking about age, but it performs way better than the paper gasket you see here. The problem is that recently Mercedes announced that they were no longer going to offer this gasket, and of course when we heard that we just said, oh, we got to do something about this. So we got to the original manufacturer of these gaskets and had them make a large special custom order for us, and we shipped these in the United States because we know in the future if people are going to keep these old diesels running, this gasket is really, really important. I'm going to repeat, do not use the paper gasket or you're going to be doing the job again in a few years. And this paper gasket comes with most engine overhaul gasket sets, and it'll come from any vendor probably that you see on most parts websites or eBay and so on. So we include with our gasket a special tool which is going to help you get that oil filter housing off easily, because you got some bolts down in there, here that are really hard to get to. We include instructions. We also recommend a couple of special wrenches to get the oil cooler lines off this. This isn't an easy job. It's not rocket science, but it is a little messy and it is a little hard if you don't have the right tools and the right instructions to pull it off yourself. But you can do this and you can save a lot of money, and I guarantee if you take it into a shop to have this gasket replaced, do not let them use a paper gasket. So if you need this gasket, be sure and check them out on my website. I'll put links in the show more part of the description of this video below.